Welcome, everybody. They said it would never happen, but after 2 weeks, the band is back together again. Oh, my. Welcome to It Came From GenX. We had a week, was just Fisher and myself. Then we had a week at just me and Skinner. And now we are all back together again. Welcome, fellas. Welcome. Good to be a trio again. Even though we are a foursome, but that's another story for another time. What's going on, Skinner?
Oh, just a little bit under the weather today, but sinus infection I think I'm dealing with. But other than that, all's good. Had a good weekend, getting ready for a long weekend down at the camper with being Labor Day weekend. It's Halloween for us down at the campground, so the kids will get to go through the haunted barn, do trick-or-treating around all the campsites. So it'll be fun this weekend.
That sounds good. Fish, what's happening, baby?
How are you, man? So, Skinner, are you going as one of Keith's suitors online? Is that your costume this year?
You know, I've got several to choose from, so I just might do that.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Oh,
I'm good.
boy.
I'm good. I had a nice extended weekend, which is why I wasn't on the show last weekend, with Allie, my beautiful girlfriend. So we went to Erie, Pennsylvania, Prescott State Park.
Saw the pics. It looked beautiful.
Yeah, it's nice. 2-hour drive up here
excuse
from
me,
Akron.
fellas.
That's okay.
We're just doing the show, Skinner. It's all.
That's all
Yeah,
right.
I know.
Yep. Recommended, by the way, if you're in the Pennsylvania area, Northeast Ohio area, go check out Erie, Pennsylvania, Presque Isle. Beautiful beaches up there, nice greenery, breweries, distilleries, good food up there. So we had a great time. We would definitely go back again. So.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Keith? How were you?
You know what? I am great. It took about a little while to get things back on track after my band show a couple weekends ago. Most of the last week was resting and recuperating, but things are going good now. Now I'm getting focused on business. Had a great time at my boy Skinner's here's house on Thursday, and his goofy bunch and a bunch of kids. You know, I'm a little kid, so that was fun. So everything's going really, really good. Really excited.
Yeah, he's got Uncle Keith's posse going on.
Yes, I do, baby. That was great. I've been playing that video for everybody. But hey, we haven't talked all together since, I went through a chair at Cooper's Luau.
That's right.
That poor chair had no chance.
So even though that chair was cheap, it has motivated me to turn it up in the gym. Gosh, I can't wait. Anyway, we got. Go ahead.
Real quick about that chairs. We went and grabbed our stuff from Cooper's house the next day, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, look at this chair. Wonder what happened to that thing." I put it off to the side, and Miss Cooper just had a nice chuckle, and Marcy had a nice chuckle, and that's all we had to say.
I'm glad I can help you guys, keep you entertained. I'm glad I wasn't talking to some girl there. That was so embarrassing, man. Like, you try to play it off, but when you're on the floor, it's kind of hard to be cool. Like, hey, yeah, this concrete looks good down here. Okay.
Well, not only were you on the floor, but my understanding, Fisher's face was so red because he was laughing so hard he couldn't breathe.
No. Fisher's face was so red he was on his 14th drink.
Probably a combination. I was hanging out with Shad, so just put it that way.
Yeah,
I was hanging out with Shad.
You need to say.
Yeah,
you don't have to say nothing else.
Yeah, everything was extra funny, but yeah, I hadn't laughed that hard in a long time.
Glad I can help. Anyway, guys, we got a good show for everybody. We welcome you to the show, and we welcome and say thank you to our good friend and our producer, executive producer. That's what I'm gonna give him the title of. Mike Skinner's son, Mike Skinner Jr. And just talked a little bit ago. He's playing Xbox. I'm like, what? Man, yeah, he's playing Xbox. That's what he was doing.
That's why he's ignoring me earlier. I see how it is.
I shouldn't have said nothing. And our boy Christopher Dominic. And if you're listening, Christopher, if you call me at 8:30 in the morning again, I'll kill you. So anyway, that's out there. Hey, let's get this show cooking. World news, Mike Skinner.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a.
so sorry to
Oh,
interrupt.
Yeah, it's
Let
all
me
right. We're just doing a show here.
back up.
Let's remind the folks so we can be heard real quick.
Why would we do that?
Real quick. Well, obviously, if you're
It's
listening
you
to
being
us,
off last week. He just done forgot. That's all.
that's all right. That's all right. If you're listening to us, you're listening to us somewhere on WMBU.org on Mondays, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, or on your favorite podcast platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, and more. All show information. Check us out on our new website. It came from GenX, all one word, .wordpress, one word also, .com. It came from GenX, .wordpress.com. Also, Linktree, Google Linktree, it came from GenX. Find us in either one of those places. All the links to all of our other social media platforms are there. Facebook, YouTube, podcast platforms, etc. Go to one of those two places, find us, follow us, stay connected, listen, subscribe. We appreciate your support. So sorry,
Absolutely.
Skinner. Yeah, I just want to get that in there. Thank you.
We're getting sophisticated.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Skinner, what you got, babe?
All right, so let's get the very depressing one out of the way first.
That's why I called you first, brother.
Mm-hmm.
I know. First of all, my heart goes out to those 13 American soldiers, Navy seamen, Marines that lost their lives on August 26th. They died by a suicide bomber near the Kabul airport, the Abbey Gate, where they were protecting the innocent, trying to escape, trying to get the Americans out of the country before the deadline, which happens to be tomorrow. And some senseless piece of crap human being decided to strap themselves with a bomb and went into a crowd of people. And I've only mentioned the 13 Americans. I'm an American veteran myself, but all those that were affected by that senseless act that day, men, women, children, all hurt, just trying to better themselves.
Right. And that number is way beyond 13, isn't it?
And I don't want to say that I feel better that our president did retaliate, because two wrongs don't make a right at the end of the day, but they had to, and it was ISIS. It was not the Taliban, because I guess ISIS and the Taliban hate each other, and they both equally hate the Americans. So, it's a lose-lose when it comes to the war on terror with us. If it's not one, it's the other. But they retaliated with drones and took out some high-ranking ISIS-K individuals.
Yeah, makes you understand what Metallica meant by kill them all and let God sort them out, huh?
Right. Yeah, no kidding. Unfortunately, I did see a story where they took out a vehicle. It was harboring a couple of the ISIS-K individuals. Unfortunately, there was a lot of ammo and high-power stuff inside the trunk of the vehicle, which when the drone struck the vehicle, it ignited the car and harmed some civilians as well. So
some kids got killed with that one, unfortunately.
Yeah, so that's a hard pill to swallow, no matter who you are. I just get you guys' opinion on this. The Afghan war, it's been ridiculous to say the least. I can't believe it's been going on for 20 years, and really nothing has been accomplished. The minute the Americans say they're coming out, of course, Taliban just comes right in and takes over the country. So what the hell have we done there for 20 years that's done any good, other than teaching people how to be fearful for anybody that doesn't have American skin?
Right.
I guess
apparently not much. The takeover was that swift. We didn't establish anything that would say,
there was no guidelines whatsoever established that I know of.
Wow. Well, I really, really don't like saying things bad about my country. But I really think that my country and my government are two different entities. When I think of my country, I think of all the people who live here, who work who pay taxes, who contribute,
who defend.
who defend. Our government is these people who sit up and make these decisions that affects people's lives, that causes lives, based on lies, sometimes based on greed, based on gain. And you just asked a great question. What have we been doing there for 20 years? Well, I got a better question. Why did you go there in the first place? Because obviously it wasn't for the reasons like you put out. Because if you did, and in 20 years you've accomplished nothing, wow, what does that say? Because if we were there establishing any type of government, any type of fail safes, and the moment we decide to leave and Taliban can come in and take over, obviously that's what you call a fail. I'm really, really disgusted about this whole situation. It seems like when I was a kid, boom, Afghan war. I'm 52 now. Here we're hearing about, the same type of crap. Other problem that bothers me with this whole thing is I'm sick of the people that badmouth this country. But as soon as someone starts dropping bombs on them, where's the first place they want to come to?
Oh, they come running to us.
They come running to us. And I kind of understand, and I don't promote hatred at all, but I kind of understand where some of Trump's or some of his supporters' stances were when it came to this type of thing. Don't come here and you hate here. Don't come here if this is a place you hate, you want to start burning flags and doing all this other crazy stuff. Don't get me wrong. If you're a citizen here, I'm a firm believer that if you burn a flag, I ain't gonna even say the word, but I do believe you got the right to do it. But don't come here and start doing that stuff. If you didn't like the place in the first place, then don't come here. That's my thoughts on this whole mess. Bish?
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. It just seems like a no-win situation over there. I mean, unless you have the local, if the local government and the local armed forces are willing to and able to step up and defend, you're going to want, you wind up with what we were. We were basically their military and protecting their country against the Taliban, etc., for all those years. I mean, you feel bad for the people of that country who, maybe it seems like they made some gains, especially in women's rights, etc., that they just hopefully won't lose under this new regime. But on the other hand of it, it's like, what do you do? I mean, you had to just live, you just not live there, but you have to keep a military force there for the end of time. I don't know. I don't know. It seemed like a no-win situation. I agree with you guys, unfortunately. So there was probably, certainly, definitely could have been planned and executed better. But it seems like, however you did it, the end result was probably going to be what we're seeing now, unfortunately, with a swift takeover. And I guess we'll find out. So hopefully, the people over there are okay, and then they could, not live in fear, which they certainly are now, until they kind of see really what's going on over there. But yeah,
there's a lot.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to be fair. There's a lot of good people that live there
that
aren't full of hatred. And, I feel for these people running for their lives and things of that nature. It just seems to me like we haven't learned our lessons since Vietnam.
Yeah.
It just kind of feels like the same kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll see us, sitting in another country like that, maybe at least not for the immediate future. I don't know. There's plenty of other things to focus on and defend and protect ourselves against than just having our troops over there and, a few of them getting killed every year just for nothing. And you feel bad for their families too. I mean, some of them have talked about it too. So they felt like it's not really an honorable way to leave. People that's lost loved ones in the armed forces, it felt like it's like, what's the point? I lost my loved one for no good reason. So it's
Right.
tough. You feel bad for all those folks. So
Right.
yeah. Anyway,
You hear this term honorable death,
yeah,
and then you get in these situations where it's a disgusting feeling when you feel like your loved ones were lost for really no reason at all.
yeah.
I do need to shout out a couple of things. The Atlanta Braves last evening had 13 seats draped in American flag, representing the 13 soldiers that
Nice.
lost their lives. Also, I'm not quite sure where it was, but it was a Texas Roadhouse had set up a booth with 13 glasses of beer, saying "We'll never forget."
Yeah, I did see that.
Sign on the table said "We'll never forget." So I need to shout out both of those two organizations. Some people get it, but unfortunately, the ones that need to get it aren't getting it, and I don't know what else there is at this point.
Yeah.
God bless America.
Yes, sir. All right. So, do you remember what happened on August 29th, 2005?
Katrina.
Katrina hit. And we all know what happened then. You know, I was, 34 years old at the time? Wow, I'm aging myself a little bit. Yeah, I was turning 34 that year when that hit. And so yesterday, Hurricane Ida
To
on
the
the
day.
the 16th anniversary to the day made landfall in the same area down in Louisiana.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely unbelievable. Came in as a Category 4 hurricane, sustained winds of 150 miles an hour when it hit landfall. 5 more miles per hour would have been a Category 5, which has only been, I think, 3 in the recorded history of these storms. Catastrophic loss. Luckily, I've only heard so far of one human death, which is a lot different than what happened with Katrina, there was thousands of lives lost. I don't say they learned their lesson from the first time around, but that's kind of how it was. They were able to be better prepared this time for it. One thing I wanted to bring up, the Louis Armstrong, he was a big predominant New Orleans, home of the jazz, birthplace of jazz. He had a historical landmark named after him it was Karnofsky's Tailor Shop. It was a family that took him in when he was very young. And there are stories that talk about that they were actually the one that introduced him to the cornet, that introduced him to playing the trumpet. And the building was marked a landmark, and it got absolutely crushed yesterday. Only thing left is the roof that on top of what collapsed, meaning the building. There was an apartment upstairs that the family lived in, and he was there. And then there was the tailor shop down below that had been there since 1913. So kind of sad. My personal prayers for myself, not only, but I'll speak for you too as well, to everyone down there, the first responders that are down there this morning, trying to look to see what they had to deal with. I hope everybody's safe. Millions of people are without power. That whole area lost power.
That's the crazy part.
Sometime in the middle of the night. So I'll let you guys speak on it, but I wanted to bring it up because it's heavy on my heart, it's heavy on my mind. Watching all the news yesterday, I just sat there in amazement as to what good citizens in New Orleans and the surrounding areas are dealing with.
Bitch, you want to go ahead first?
Well, I mean, I can't say a whole lot more than that, other than certainly we wish everybody the very best and health and safety and prayers and all that to everybody down there. So I can't say much more than that. It's just an unfortunate, we're seeing more and more of these devastating, weather conditions all the way around with storms and drought and everything else with the climate changing and stuff. And whether you believe it or not, I don't know, but it seems like things are just getting worse. So you feel bad for folks down there. So hopefully there's not a lot of lives lost. They can restore power quickly, and they all get past this very, very fast. So I don't know what else to say. Keith?
Well, gosh, I don't want to sound negative, but as far as one life loss, anytime you have a tragedy like this, the day after, you don't really know anything.
Yeah.
It's several days later when you really can get an understanding of the total loss. So, and I hope I'm completely wrong at this time, that it doesn't go far beyond that. And you also mentioned, Skinner, about them being better prepared since Katrina. When I think back to Katrina, the real problem there was not so much the preparation, it was the aftermath. And that's what I hope they're better prepared for. I remember all the problems with FEMA. There was a lot of racial implications still to this day, as far as the homes that got built back up, getting people water in the Superdome, the sexual assaults that were happening in the Superdome and some of the camps. These are the things that I'm going to be watching for, that I hope they're better prepared to handle and understand this is what could happen when you have the aftermath of a hurricane like this, when you take a bunch of people who've lost everything and put them in one spot. Unfortunately, you're going to have deviants in that group. You're going to have all these people who are looking out for one another or helping one another, but you're just always going to have some jerks, some deviants in the group that will take advantage of the situation and do some sort of selfish act. And I hope they're better prepared for that. I hope we're better prepared to give these people aid, especially your basics, like water and things like that. It's summertime. I remember some of the great stories that came out of it, though, with people driving with trucks so people can wash clothes, things like that people really need. So I hope we do better with it this time.
Yeah. One thing I did not hear this time that I heard last time in Katrina was people actually listen when I said, "Get the hell out of there! You need to evacuate." Those thousands and thousands of people
bring that up. Yeah,
come on. Stayed thinking that nothing was going to happen, and then the storm hit, and then they were crying the blue after.
Yeah, I didn't get it, man. I know everybody is not able to, but those that were and were like, "Oh, tough it out."
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to kick anybody while they're down, but that really chapped my hide when I was, the first time around with Katrina. But I've not heard many instances of this time around, which I'm very thankful.
It's hard to feel bad for you when you have that. I'm not going anywhere. This is my home. It's simple. It reminds me of that we talked about last week, that crate walk challenge. I was gonna put it on Facebook and be like, you know what? I'm a live and let live person, but if I see you walking crates on the video and you fall and break your arm, I'm laughing because you asked for it.
Right,
man. You got a hurricane coming. You have the means to go. Hey, you can play tough with a lot of people. Mother Nature is not one of them.
No, you'll lose every time. Every
single time, baby. All right, thanks, Skinner. Appreciate it. A couple of tough stories, I know. Yes. And heavy on your heart, heavy on our hearts. So let's keep those folks in prayers. Okay, so we can lighten the mood a little bit now with some pop culture.
What?
There's no pitch. Oh, somebody died today.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what's coming out of his mouth.
It's hard to lighten it too much. Although, we did lose an iconic actor, Ed Asner.
Never mind. Let's go to sports.
Well, but we can reflect. I mean, Mr. Asner passed away of old age. I mean, he was 91, and he had a very esteemed career. And if you're around our age, you probably watched the Mary Tyler Moore Show, the original one back in the 70s. Maybe you watched it on reruns when we were little kids. Certainly iconic comedic actors on that show. He won several Emmys for his portrayal of Lou Grant, and Lou Grant went on to have his own series from 77 to 82. And Mary Tyler Moore ran from 70 to 77. So he played that role for many years of his career. So just, funny man, very good actor. And, certainly he was in some movies and different things, but certainly most well known for that. And for me, we talked about it off camera a little bit. One of my favorite roles of him in more recent years, he played Santa Claus in the movie Elf.
Yeah.
I thought he was just terrific in that role. And it's something that every year, I think you guys do as well. But I watch that movie every Christmas time. So I always get to enjoy Ed Asner in that role as Santa Claus. So, yeah, so rest in peace, Mr. Asner. Guys, are you familiar with Mary Tyler Moore? Not so much. Yeah, I know you know the show, but did you really watch it too much? Or what do you think of Ed Asner? Skinner, go ahead.
I know the show. I watched it when I was a kid. I have not revisited it since I'm an adult, and that's something I want to do.
Yeah.
Not just because, hearing Ed Asner, pass, that was an iconic role for an individual. For someone to be able to play that same role, only one that comes to mind is Kelsey Grammer, who played Frasier in Cheers for 7,
10+
8
years
years.
anyway.
And then he went to his own show for another 7 or 8 years. So he was pushing 20 years as Frasier Crane. So Ed Asner, great comedy actor. Like I said, I know the show. I watched it as a kid, and I need to watch it as an adult to really appreciate what he did and what Mary Tyler Moore meant to comedy as well back then.
Yeah, absolutely. Keith, Ed Asner?
I'm in the same boat as Skinner. I never watched Mary Tyler Moore or Lou Grant growing up. Seeing episodes or at least parts of episodes here and there, but not my favorite shows. I probably would maybe get more out of as an adult now, like Skinner was saying. But I do like Ed Asner. He's just that guy that's been around forever, pops up here and there in all these obscure places. Never was the leading guy since Lou Grant or Mary Tyler Moore, but he always had supporting roles in a lot of movies and shows. You mentioned Elf as one of your favorite roles. Hell, for me, what I remember him in is playing a real gritty Englishman in one of my favorite series of all time, Roots. And he was had a prominent role in that. But he's just a guy who was, a little supporting role in this movie and that movie. Nothing you could really pinpoint and say. But I always liked Ed Asner. I always thought he was a great actor. And my condolences to his family.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we hear about all these reboots of old shows. It's like, can you have an original idea? I don't know. Skinner talked about last week on the possibility of The Office coming back. Who knows? It's like some of these work, some of these really haven't worked. I don't know of many that they've rebooted that I can think of that really took off and worked consistently. So we heard that I had heard that they were rebooting the Wonder Years. I didn't know too much about it, but I just learned last evening when I looked it up that they were rebooting the Wonder Years, but it's a whole different family. It's a black family living in the 60s, okay? And it takes on some of the racial challenges and so forth in that era. Now, to me, I thought, at least, thank you very much. I think it's something that should be portrayed. I like the original take. It's a similar concept, of course, where it's the grown boy like Fred Savage was on the the old episodes, telling his story as a kid. But I like that they're doing something different with it, and I don't know. I think it's good. I don't know that we really talk about a lot of the racial implications in the '60s and challenges of black families and all of that. So I think it's good. It's the comedy, but they're going to tackle some tough issues, including as I mentioned, the kid's trying to get on the baseball team. He's trying to desegregate a baseball team to play baseball as a kid. So I like it. I think it's good. So. If you're going to reboot stuff, do something like this. Do something kind of original with it and a different take on it and in a different perspective. So, Keith, what do you think?
I totally agree with you. I agree with you except for one thing. I don't think it's a different take. I think it's telling the whole story. And that's why I don't consider this a reboot. I think this is saying,
fair enough.
You know what? This wasn't life for everybody. You know, with Fred Savage, there was another. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even then, that's not telling the whole story, but at least another part of the story, what life was like for a Black family, for Black people growing up in there. And it's a lot different than Fred Savage's Wonder Years. So I think that's just absolutely awesome. I look forward to this. I didn't watch the Wonder Years before. I don't know, just one of those timing things. I didn't get to watch it.
Me either.
When I saw pieces of it, I was like, oh, this is cool, but I never really sat and watched it. But I think I'm really going to check this out because I think it's going to be, it's impossible to not include the struggles that came with the 60s and living in this country as a Black person. So I'm looking forward to it. Very
good. Skinner, what do you think? Any thoughts?
I agree with Porter when we talk about that. It's an addition to the story that's already been told. When I think about the 60s and 70s and the racial tensions and things of that nature, that people don't really understand it unless they lived it. A movie comes to mind, and it happens to be a Disney movie, but Denzel Washington was a big part of this movie. And the movie is called Remember the Titans.
Great movie.
A lot of people think it was about football, and the movie couldn't be farther from the truth about being about football. Yes, there was about a high school football team, but the main storyline was segregation and inclusion.
Yes.
The Black kids, inner city kids, finally had a place to play football. And there was struggles with the privileged white kids that were in the same area. And the individual that I'm trying to think of the guy's name that played. He also played in this show called Sons of Anarchy. He was the linebacker in the movie. He played a great role in that movie. Take aside Denzel Washington, they couldn't have had a better individual play that role. But I know I'm kind of getting away from the subject of this reboot, so I'm looking forward to seeing this part of the story. I hope they do it in the right way. I hope they don't do it for accusatory ways, but for educational ways.
Yeah.
Let's do this to try to figure out how to make things right instead of making it worse. And that's
I love what you just said there. Concern. Don't do it in accusatorial ways, and that's really good to bring up because we don't want it to be negative on Black people, but we also don't want it to be like, shame on you, whitey, that type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Let's tell the story as is. Let the truth have its day without, adding to it and adding white guilt to it or things of that nature. So good point there.
Yeah, let's not have any agendas hidden agendas behind it.
There you go.
Yeah, very good. Okay, excellent. I think Fred Savage he's involved in the new show. He's going to help produce it,
isn't he?
He's going to he's an executive producer, and he's going to direct at least some episodes as well. So that's pretty cool.
You want to talk about reboot? I just read today. Guess what show they're recasting?
What's that?
Shameless.
No, not again. Not for a third story.
That show is something else. Every season I get to, my eyes go like this, like I can't believe what I just saw or heard. You think they would have let that one die down? They're recasting that show.
Wow.
Have you watched the British version of Shameless? Because that's the original. Is the British?
I didn't know there was one.
Yeah. The British version is the original take of Shameless. And then, of course, you got your American spin with what was on Showtime for many years, which
I did know that. I did see a little bit of it.
Shameless was a great show because it tells me that my dysfunctional family is not so bad.
Man.
When watching that show.
If you got a crazy family, watch that show. You'll feel much better about them.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's also a show, Shameless, which talks about Keith's dating back in the 80s and 90s. But that's a whole other
That's
version
right. And the theme song
Shameless.
is Garth Brooks playing the song Shameless. Right?
Shameless.
That's right.
Well, you summed that up. Yeah. I just like that you used the word dating. That was great.
Yeah, dating. Yeah. Well, speaking of Shameless as well, so one of the most famous album covers of our of the 90s for sure, which helped usher in the grunge era of music. And back in the day, we were a little upset about that because it sort of helped kill hair metal that we enjoyed in high school. But Nirvana, the Nevermind album, and if you're a Nirvana fan, you know the album cover. Even if you're a casual fan, you probably know the album cover we're talking about. It's a baby. It's a baby boy swimming in a pool, swimming after a dollar bill on a fish hook. The baby is, obviously nude. He's swimming. Okay. Fast forward. Now that came out in 1991 already. So that baby now is 30 years old. He was 4 months old when that photo was taken. Spencer Eldon. This past week, he filed a lawsuit against Nirvana seeking damages for child pornography. So his lawsuit is basically stating that him as an infant is being portrayed in a sexual way in swimming, not because he's nude necessarily, but he's nude and swimming after money. So he's basically stating that he's being depicted in an inappropriate way, and he is seeking damages of each defendant, which is each individual living member of Nirvana, and others of upwards of at least $150,000 per person. And there you have it. So there's all kinds of opinions and different things about this out there. There's an interesting article that I pulled off online. I won't go into a whole lot of the details. Basically, it's more or less what they're saying is his suit doesn't have much of a chance because it's clearly not purposely depicting him in a sexual manner. And really, what they also point out in this opinion piece is, there's plenty of pictures of nude babies out there. You take them in photography sometimes, right? But if you take that picture and you yourself do something with it, you zoom in areas of the body and different things like that in an inappropriate way, you yourself are now in possession of child pornography that you have sort of created, but it was not the intention of the original photo to just depict anything inappropriate. So making a lot of news right now. I thought it was sort of ridiculous. It feels very much to me that it's trying to get a money grab here from this guy. And he also mentions in his piece that he's actually, over the years, in the anniversary of the album, he's actually replicated the photo on his own, swimming with trunks and stuff like that. So he's clearly kind of lived with it. So it seems like maybe he got some advice from somebody, or somebody caught him and trying to, get some money out of all this. So yeah, I just thought it was kind of crazy. I mean, if he really feels this way, hey, I feel bad for him, and I hope that he, whatever. But
stop.
I think it's ridiculous. I hope he doesn't get 2 cents out of it. So that's
man.
there you go.
Come on,
go ahead.
Let me go.
Go ahead, Keith. Go ahead.
Okay,
Keith.
First of all, I'm gonna balance this. Looking at the picture, I'm going to say this. I don't think it was wise, and they could have easily avoided this. If you look at the picture, you don't have to have the guy's penis just protruding outward. I don't think that was necessary. You could have cut that out. Totally unnecessary.
Yep.
I'm sure it was a rock and roll thing to go with it, but when it comes to babies, children, go with the higher thought. They should have cut that out. That being said, come on, dude. First of all, there ain't no way they went up to you and said, hey, baby, can we put your picture on the album? No, they went to your parents. So if you're going to exactly. So if you're going to sue anybody, sue them.
Right.
That's the part to me that makes the whole lawsuit frivolous in my mind. I'm no judge, I'm no attorney, but come on, man. They didn't just take a picture and say we're going to use this without getting somebody's permission.
Well, apparently it was Dad. So apparently they talked to Dad, and it all happened, according to this guy, it happened very fast. The guy was offered a couple $100 or something like that to take some pictures of his kids swimming in a pool.
And thirdly, and least of all, most of all, and especially because you just told me that he's emulated the picture over the years. If he had not done that, I guarantee you nobody has walked up to him and said, "Hey, ain't you that baby with your penis out?"
Right.
Who knows it's you?
Sure.
Stop it, man. I never heard such ridiculous crap. Talk about a tort.
Do you think that was ever a pickup line that guy used over the years? I mean, yeah. I mean, hey, check this out.
I was passing, but I was only before I could walk.
This is me.
You think it's big now? What?
Yeah. Skinner, what do you think?
His dating profile app is going.
Yeah. Yeah. Check it out. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to jump in here real quick because I have nothing else really to say that you guys two already haven't. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it burns my ass hearing you say that he's emulated the picture as an adult. So right there tells me that he didn't care that this happened when he was a baby. You were
fine with it for a while for your purpose, yeah.
Right, yeah. But all of a sudden, shut up, get a job, go back to whatever it is you're doing, because if this guy gets 2 cents, I'm going to be pissed. And I'm sorry for the language, but yeah, this just ticks me off to no end.
It was. I did part of this too. Is that back in the day, apparently some people did complain about it. Okay.
Oh, I'm sure they did, and rightfully so. I get it.
Kurt Cobain, basically, what he wanted to do was say, okay, he agreed to have a sticker put over his, the kid's genitals, but the sticker was going to say something like, if under the sticker offends you, then you must be a closet pedophile, something to that effect. So Kurt Cobain was basically like, okay. We'll put a sticker.
And that's just stupid.
They
I
said,
don't want to see your penis
that.
if you're 9, 90, or 9 months, okay?
Right.
But if it's a baby in a baby setting, laying on the bed or something, that's different.
Right.
And it's a piece of artwork. It's not something that was done for video purpose.
And I will say this: that kid was packing because in the words of Seinfeld, shrinkage apparently did not affect him too bad.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah, and they said too, the picture hung in the Guggenheim Museum in New York City. So if it was a criminal act to take the picture, why would they hang it in a museum, basically? So anyway, so we'll watch that one a little bit and see. It may just fall out of the news quickly, but we'll keep an eye on that. So all right, so I don't know if these are really lighthearted stories. We're looking for some lighthearted stories. So, Keith, maybe you have some of those in the worlds of music and sports here, sir. Help us out here.
Right.
Well, no. we have a depth in music. I'll start off, get that out the way. We did lose the second Everly brother. Don Everly passed away a week ago. You don't
say.
Yeah, I know this is newsflash to you guys, and I hate to spring it on you like this, but yeah, Don Everly, man, I grew up loving all those old songs. I learned a lot of them from the K-Tel commercials or the commercials on Channel 43. That's where I learned a lot of these groups from.
Wow.
And a huge fan of Everly Brothers, Kathy's Clown, All I Have to Do Is Dream.
Yeah, that song.
Yeah, great stuff, man. They embodied that early 50s sound. So, condolences to that family. Certainly legends. Certainly legends. And I really didn't know that they were either one of them were still alive at this point. So, but certainly worthy of music news.
They're on the Rock Hall. They're on the Rock Hall.
Yeah, without question. Skinner.
Yeah, it's a band from, my goodness, when would they? Phil and Don Everly, January 1939. So Phil passed away in January of 2014. So I didn't realize it was that long ago that he passed away. Don was born February 1st of 37. And of course, he made it to 2021. So he had a long life. Good music. I can't name a song. You say Everly Brothers. What do they sing? I can't tell you the name of a song, but I can certainly sit there and recognize the song that it was them if it came on a radio. So Yeah, I didn't realize, like you said, that either one of them were still alive. Because they were predominantly in the 50s and 60s from what I
Yeah.
remember. So rest in peace, Everly Brothers. Their music will go down. It'll be timeless. Some of their music's timeless, just like we've talked about with other artists as well.
Fish.
Yeah, it's just a quintessential 50s band. I mean, they had the sound, they had the great harmonies. Just a great band. I like all the songs you mentioned there, Keith. Bye Bye Love is probably my favorite of theirs. Very popular song. So I love going back, listening to the 50s music. It's very relaxing and just a whole
love
different
it.
era
Love it.
in it, innocence and this and that. And they were definitely one of the best. So rest in peace now to both brothers. Maybe singing again somewhere else, Keith.
So as you guys know, I've gone from teaching just drums to music now, music history, music theory, and we started in the early 1400s, and we have moved all the way up through time. We are in the 1950s right now, and I am enjoying it so much. These kids are enjoying listening to these songs, watching the dances, learning all the dances. The Lindy Hop, the wave, the twist, all these different things. And Everly Brothers are a big part of that. So that's great. This day in music, guys. Let's talk about this day in music. I did come across a whole lot today, but I did come across a little snippet that I thought was kind of interesting. Now, I hadn't heard this story until today. In 2013, in this day, cinemas across the United Kingdom were handing out earplugs to parents taking their children to see One Direction's new film. Accompanying chaperones could enjoy One Direction, This Is Us 3D without being worried by the high levels of expected screaming and shouting in the auditoriums during the screenings. Humans are capable of screaming as loud as 120 decibels, which is the same as standing next to a running chainsaw. I found this story interesting because, one, as I said, I'm teaching music right now, and I was showing clips of Elvis and the Beatles to my kids. And I was showing him the frenzy that was created in the crowds, the girls screaming and passing out, which has really never stopped. For certain artists, it's still going on. Of course, most recent comes to mind was Michael Jackson. And he had that effect on the groups. And of course, a lot of these boy bands or whatnot seem to have that effect on these young girls. But I thought it was kind of cool because in the last 20 years, I've heard more and more about, I don't know if it's the groups or the promoters or the venues that have offered more considerations for the parents, because the parents have been more involved and have been taking their kids to some of these concerts instead of saying, yeah, you can go to the Backstreet Boys concert. No, I'll take you to the Backstreet Boys concert, or I'll take you to Taylor Swift. And there's been a lot of considerations such as alcohol, those that aren't driving. And now we hear about earplugs in 2013. I thought this was kind of cool. Is this, we're old? Or is this really, really making it safe for kids, making parents more responsible? I can't imagine sitting through some of these shows. As a musician, I would try to find something in it to appreciate, but I know I would want to probably strangle myself on some of them. But I think this is a kind of a cool consideration. Skinner, your thoughts?
Yeah, with someone having a 12-year-old girl at home that you have to say what 5 times to hear her talk, but when she screams, you clasp your ears because she's trying to break your eardrums. So yeah,
You leave my baby alone.
I'm very familiar with the subject, and yes, the decimals that these children make, and my grandsons are the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hear them talk when they're trying to talk a normal level. You have to say, "Speak up so I can hear you." But when they get excited, boy, they hear you 5 blocks away. So
let me ask you a question, Skinner. Would you take my lovely Serenity to see One Direction? Would you chaperone her there?
Hell no, I'm not going to see that show, but Marcy will be there with her. Yeah, I wouldn't, I wouldn't condone 12-year-old kids going to concerts in this day and age. I hate to say that when we were kids and we were boys, it's a little bit different. But today's day and age and 12-year-old girls, yeah, no, they don't need to be at a concert without some kind of chaperone intervention. So when these promoters are having earplugs and places for adults to sit around and converse with each other while the show's going on, I think it's a great idea. It also promotes safety for the kids. They can go to a show and feel safe for themselves, knowing that their parents are around, which, the teenagers, probably my annoying parents here with me, but you talk to them 5-10 years later, they'll appreciate that they were there with them.
You know what it reminds me of? You started seeing these little islands in the middle of the mall where all the husbands carrying purses.
Yeah.
wait for the wives to come out of certain stores. I often thought, man, it'd be a great idea to put like a little station there for the men to sit there and have a drink and talk and play games or something. That would have been cool. Now
they need to have that as real quick. They need to have those kind of stands at Cedar Point. People like
that's
me
a good point.
Carrying around 5 bags while they're 2 hours in the line for a damn roller coaster.
Right. Then they should put little men's station inside of places like Victoria's Secrets and all these other places where you got to go in and how do I look?
There you go.
But things like that. Now, Fish, you're the father of a lovely young lady. She's an adult now, but not too far from being a teenager. First of all, we get your opinion on the story, and then would you escort her to a One Direction concert?
Well, actually, I think it's good precaution, by the way. And also, I heard that local, I don't know if you heard this or not, Skinner, but local retirement homes had to do the same preparation when Keith put his dating profile up there.
I was waiting.
The local staff was like, "Oh my God, what? Piercing."
Oh man, I can't win. Yep. I can't win. You answer the question or not?
I took Peyton and her friend at one of her good friends at the time to see a concert at the House of Blues. It was Peyton's first concert. Now this was there when she was 16. It was, and I should know it. God darn it! But anyways, it was a good show. It wasn't like that though. It wasn't a One Direction type show. It was a small venue. It was loud, but it wasn't super piercing and all that stuff. But I had a great time. I hung back with the dads. It was the dads back there clearly had brought their teenage daughters. Right.
Because certainly the daughters don't want you hanging with them.
No. I was in there. They were up here.
Right.
But I hung with the dads and talked, had a beer. It was fine. It was a great show. As a matter of fact, I got introduced to some nice modern music at the time. So when I go to One Direction, sure. I don't care about that stuff because it's about having fun. She can experience it, whatever. It's fine. It's a few hours of my life, but I would be if I was going to a show like that. I would definitely be inclined to.
I'll say
prep
this
with
much.
The plugs. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll say this much. Kudos for the kids that are cool with it. Understand that. Hey, you might not think it's the coolest move, but it's certainly a safe move. And you know what? The fact that your parents would take the time. And maybe even put up with something that drives them crazy to make sure that you're safe. That's something to be applauded and appreciated. So that was a cool little story.
Yeah, for me, with 7 daughters, 3 stepdaughters and 4 biological.
You don't have any stepdaughters; they're all their daughters.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
We took the 3 redheads, Serenity, Ashley, and Madison, to a show. Oh, we're probably saying 2016, 2017, and that was a date night with the kids. Me and Marcy took them, and they appreciated that, and they still remember it to this day. We had to leave early because of rain, but they still remember that it was Ashley's first concert and Serenity's as well. First time that either one of them had stepped into Blossom, so it was kind of a cool thing. So, and they appreciated being with us during that time. But I think if we went to a boy band concert or some teeny bopper concert, yeah, they would want the dad standing in the back, like Fisher was talking about earlier.
Yeah. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's not like, the trampling type thing, some of those some of these artists in the past have created such a frenzy. That's the scary part when people rush the stage. And I can remember going to Nautica, when my first wife, you all know Marianne, to see Seven Dust, and such a frenzy broke out and mosh pit, and I remember this. It was the scariest thing ever. You got knocked down. Now you try to pick up a person off the ground when thousands of people are pushing against you, and our hands got separated, and I almost couldn't see her. And you talk about getting scared, and some guy picked her up for me, man. I'll never forget. That thing scared me to death. I thought my wife's about to get trampled. So, oh well. So good to include the parents, and good for the parents that take the time to do that. Okay, thanks, guys.
Yep.
So that's last thing. This day in music, a story not so popular here, but it just lends a question to me. 2016, this day in music, U.S. R&B singer Chris Brown was arrested on suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon after a woman told police he had threatened her with a gun. Beauty queen Bailey Coran told the LA Times Mr. Brown had pointed the gun at her face after she had been admiring his friend's jewelry. Mr. Brown came out of his home after a standoff with police. It has been well documented, Chris Brown's physical abuse with R&B singer Rihanna, and he's had other issues. And we have talked about certain people who have been victims of cancel culture. They make one mistake and get them, they're gone, their history. Why is this guy still seemingly accepted by the general music public? Every time I turn on a show, some music show, whatever, he's singing with someone or performing or whatnot. If a person does something I don't like, I don't judge them. But when it comes to things like, hurting a child, hurting an elderly person, abusing an animal, or domestic violence, I'm sorry, I don't want to see you. And if you're somebody who's making millions of dollars and you do one of those things, you've lost your right for that celebrity, as far as I'm concerned. Get lost. Why is this guy seemingly getting a pass on this, Fish?
That's a great question, man. I don't know. I mean, it's like there's certainly artists out there in movies and music, et cetera, has been accused of stuff that certainly had their careers significantly impacted. Some have been accused and not really had much of anything impacted. But when you have more, it seems like pretty solid evidence here that it's not a great dude here. And if you still support it, I don't know. I don't get it, man. How many counts is it
going to take?
Yeah, I don't know if it's maybe that. I'm not trying to make it a racial thing. Is it the type of music that people? It's just I don't know.
Right.
It's just like I like his music. It can't
be a racial thing. You look at the running back for the Ravens. He was on it.
Ray Rice.
Ray Rice. Of course, you look at R. Kelly. So it's certainly not a racial thing. I just don't understand it. Skinner.
I wish I had the answer to that question too, because first of all, I didn't think he was even relevant anymore. For you saying that you're still seeing him around here, it kind of surprises me because I've not heard that name for years. Not that that's the genre of music I listen to, because it's not. But he's not been in the news lately, so I thought things settled down.
Let me stop you right here. Recent story. This story is printed June 23rd of this year, and and I just saw this for the first time. This is just now seeing this. So this backs up my question here. Chris Brown is accused of more violence against women. Are we ready to cancel him yet?
Oh, wow.
That's the exact question I asked.
Wow. Well, the answer to that is yes, in short.
Listen, in March of this year in March, this guy had another top 10 hit on the Billboard 100.
Yeah.
3 months later, he was just accused of hitting a woman just recently in L.A.
I'm not an advocate of cancel culture. As a matter of fact, we've had candid discussions on the subject.
Right.
But if this guy has a rap sheet a mile
This dude
long
needs
with
canceled.
coming to these things, he needs to be canceled. He's not a role model.
Well,
If
part of
anything,
cancel
he's the exact
culture,
opposite of it.
but part of cancel culture is abruptly dismissing a person after they make one mistake.
Yeah.
This is multiple charges against different women. There's obviously a problem here. This dude needs to be canceled. And he needs to have his butt thrown in jail.
Agree.
Just crazy. Okay, a little bit of sports news today, guys. Near and dear to our hearts, NFL news. J.K. Dobbins, tremendous running back for years. We watched him as a freshman with our beloved Ohio State Buckeyes.
Oh,
out for the season with the Baltimore Ravens. And wow, big blow to the Ravens because as a rookie, he really started to find his footing, fit into that daunted running game with Lamar Jackson. This is gonna be a big blow to him. So I'm an AFC North competitor with my Steelers and obviously the Browns. But I don't wish this on nobody, especially a former Ohio State guy. Is this gonna be a real big blow to the Ravens or not? You think, real quick, Skinner?
Well, I don't know who else is on the team, but yeah, this is a huge blow. I thought he was out. He was ready for a breakout year this year after his rookie season last year.
Took wear and tear off Lamar Jackson too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Fish.
I agree with what you guys said. Yeah, just Lamar, less running for Lamar. Does he have to shoulder more of the run game again, where he's more of a risk to get hurt? So I think it's definitely a blow to the Ravens for sure.
Yeah, and just a little quick tidbit, just to people looking out, the first game of the season between the Packers and the Saints, possibly because of Hurricane Ida, might be moved. So we'll keep an eye on that and keep you informed. And but the big story coming out in the NFL, gambling, the stance on gambling. Because of time, I'm not going to read the whole story, but the NFL is really embracing gambling now. Tony Dungy, maybe the first prominent figure to speak out boldly against it today. What has happened at the NFL, who was so against having anything like that in their organization, especially when the Pete Rose thing happened in baseball? Why is this now becoming just commonplace in the NFL? Fish?
I love the podcast PTI, and one of the things they say on there, the answer is a common quote. The answer to all your questions is money. There you have it. There's your answer right there.
Wow. Skinner?
Yeah, that was my one. I had one word answer, and that was money. That screams money.
I thought that Dallas Maverick owner Mark Cuban was just salty because the NFL is such a bigger brand than the NBA, but I'm starting to believe he was right when he said pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. The NFL is just getting so greedy, in my opinion, with the inclusion of gambling, with the adding an extra game to the season, when out of one mouth you're doing that, and then out of the other side of your mouth, you're talking about player safety. But you add another game to a long, brutal season, and it's just like getting really, really ridiculous. So you guys hit it on the head, money, and for that, that'll be our show. Take us home, Skinner.
For Brian Fisher and Keith Porter, I'm Michael Skinner. We are the guys from Gen X. It came from Gen X. Find us on the Linktree, as well as it came from GenX. Help me, Fish.
WordPress.com.
Yeah. If you're 70 and over, call me.
YouTube, Facebook, all of them things. But for the fellows here at Gen X, we bid you farewell and hope to see or hear from you next week.
We bid you farewell.
We bid you adieu. And I was trying to end it quickly, damn it. My words all ran together.
Oh, God.
Song.